AM 560, The Answer.
The content and information on Real Estate Airwaves is for informational purposes only and should not be regarded as legal advice. Real Estate Airwaves does not provide legal advice and make no warranty or representation regarding the information on the show. Real Estate Airwaves shall not assume any liability for damages of any kind whatsoever relating to the use, misuse, or reliance of this information. The listener should conduct their own investigations, analysis, due diligence, draw their own conclusions, and make their own decisions. Any areas concerning taxes or specific legal or technical questions should be referred to lawyers, accountants, consultants, brokers, or other professionals licensed, qualified, or authorized to render such advice.
No fluff, no hype, no gurus. You're listening to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer. Get the inside information you need to find, fund, fix, and flip real estate in today's market. Joshua Ingalls and Vincent Pace share their secrets to minimize risk, maximize profit, and get deals done. We're pulling the curtain back and sharing the knowledge you need to succeed in real estate. And now, your hosts, Joshua and Vincent.
Thanks for tuning in. Today, we are talking about how to find great contractors. And this is a very, very important topic because contractors, if you are flipping houses, this is the lifeblood of your business. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. My name is Joshua Ingalls. I'm an active real estate investor. Over the last 3 years, we've flipped over 60 properties, and I'm also an active real estate broker with United Real Estate.
And I'm Vincent Pace. I head up Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance. We provide short-term capital for all your real estate investment needs.
Now, working with contractors and finding contractors is one of the most difficult things in this business if you're flipping properties. You know, usually when I meet an investor, I like to ask them, what's harder, finding deals, finding money to do your deals, or finding contractors to rehab your deals? And more than likely, if they are experienced, they will answer that question with contractors.
And we see it again and again as well among our borrowers. You know, at the end of the day, we do vet the deals, so we know they found a good deal if we've approved it. You know, we're bringing the money, so that's not an issue. So if we see a deal go sideways, it's often because contractors did not do the job they were supposed to do or somehow other went awry.
Yeah, I always, whenever I do a presentation on contractors and I poll the room of who here has been taken advantage of by a contractor, usually 95% of the room will put their hands up.
The other 5 hasn't done a deal yet.
Exactly. So this is why knowing how to find contractors, vet them, is extremely, extremely important. Now, you have to think, you know, we're kind of bad-mouthing contractors a little bit on the show, but if you're going to be working with contractors, you can't have that mentality when you're interviewing and looking at potential contractors. You can't look at them of this is me versus them. You got to look at it as you and them. So first off, we have to attract good contractors. That's really important because there's a difference, obviously, between the majority of contractors out there and the good ones. So if we find good contractors, we need to get them on our side.
So I'll tie this back to episode 8 where we talked about our power team. If you're flipping, there's probably nobody more crucial to your power team than your contractor. They're a core part of your team. So the us versus them mentality isn't a great one. You want someone who's there, who understands what you're doing, and is willing to play ball in a way that makes sense for everybody to profit from these deals.
Yeah, and Vince said it very well. It is so crucially important. So we need to get these good contractors on our side. So how do we do that? Well, number one, you have to love to pay. Now, what I mean by that is if you're paying them and you set up the paperwork properly, this means that work is getting done on your project. So I absolutely love cutting my contractors' checks because that means my project is moving forward.
Yeah, you set it up so that whatever your trigger is to pay them is clear. And then the second you hit that trigger, shove that check in their hand. I mean, you want them to get paid. Whether you're doing a time-based thing, a work-based thing, whatever the situation is, you want to be able to pay them quickly and immediately as soon as that threshold is met.
Yeah, because we've talked about many times where we've had horror stories with contractors. The same is true for contractors. A lot of contractors have not gotten paid for jobs they have done. So when you love to pay, the word gets out and they tell their other good contractor buddies all about you, and then that's how you attract more good contractors. Another simple thing is to give them a steady supply of work. Now, you may not be in a position right now in your business to give them jobs all year round, but that's why you attend meetings like the one that Vince and I have. You're in a room full of other investors. If you can't keep them busy all year, you can refer them to another investor who can then give them jobs. So if you can provide contractors work all year round, they don't need to spend money on advertising and, bidding out jobs all the time, because we are that one-stop shop for them.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when we find a good contractor, whether it's, within, the business that I run or one of our sister companies that, selling homes itself, we try and keep them busy. We will use them on our own properties. We'll use them on borrowers' properties. We'll recommend them to borrowers to allow them to use. So we like to make sure that good contractors get a steady stream of work from us or from people we know.
Another thing you want to do to get contractors excited about working with you is you want to help them develop their business. A lot of contractors might be set up in a way where maybe they can only do one job at a time, but helping them understand different systems to use and educating them through the process and the tools that you have, you will also make them better, which then in effect makes you better and makes your projects go that much quicker.
Absolutely. And the place where contractors will often run into trouble is they can't quite scale up. They love the work you're sending them, but they get overburdened. We'll talk about that more later, but you helping them develop their business is one of the ways you can actually help them scale up, help them use systems that let them grow.
Another thing you want to do is make their life easier. Homeowners, if you're a contractor and you're listening, can be extremely difficult to work with. Why? Because they change their minds consistently. What we want to do is have a predetermined scope of work. And what a scope of work is it tells you everything that you want done on that job. So these are the colors I want. These are the tiles I want. Here's the SKU numbers of those tiles and where to buy them. If you can do all those things and have that for them already available and how much those tiles cost, it will make their job a lot easier, so then they're not trying to figure it out and then even having difficulties bidding out your job.
Yeah, the more your project is just a checklist of clear things for them to do with clearly delineated items and prices and all those sorts of things, the more you can let that happen, the easier it's going to be for the contractor to simply execute on the work.
Another thing that you can do once you start working with a contractor and you build that trust is something I do in my business is I actually offer my contractors joint venture opportunities. Now, this comes in a couple different ways. Sometimes I've had it where a contractor has actually brought me the deal, and I'll joint venture with them. Many times contractors, if they're out bidding jobs, they may know of houses that need a ton of work. And so if they're out in the field, I've had where contractors have brought me deals that I have bought because the owners opted not to do the work and just sell it as is. So that's one joint venture opportunity. So you can essentially turn your contractors into bird dogs. Another thing that I've done in my business, which has been extremely successful, is certain deals I'll actually joint venture with them on the deal. So instead of paying them a GC fee, they share in the profits of the deal. And what happens when you do this is they will do the work for as cheap as possible, but still keep the quality there. One of the contractors I did this with, he was doing a $1 million home on the North Shore, and he had this really expensive toilet that was 100% fine, but of course the owner wanted to get rid of it. So instead of him just throwing out that toilet, he's bringing that toilet that's really nice and bringing it to my job site, which was a nicer toilet than I would have even bought for the job.
One thing to consider when doing this, though, is, of course, that there's things you need to consider before jumping into a relationship like this. Sometimes contractors get kickbacks from subcontractors. They could be doing that. So the subcontractor bill comes in at $1,500. 200 of that goes to the contractor. You want to be aware of that. So there needs to be a certain level of trust before you jump into a relationship like this.
Yeah, I recommend definitely doing a deal with that contractor before, at least a couple, so you really know that, in fact, that they can be trusted. Another thing is you don't want to waste their time. I know a lot of people who bring contractors out to jobs that they don't even have under contract yet, and really you're wasting that contractor's time. I want to buy this house for $100,000 and it's listed for $200,000. You're wasting that contractor's time. And lastly, do not badmouth other contractors. You never, even if you've had the worst experience in the world with a contractor, you do not want to bring up these experiences. You always want to keep it positive and make sure that they understand that contractors love working with you and you love working with contractors. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. We'll see you soon.
Mortgage rates are still near historic lows. If you're looking to buy your first home, upgrade, downsize, invest, or refinance, contact Matthew Ewald from Draper & Kramer Mortgage Corp. Matthew has been a trusted mortgage consultant for over 13 years and has options to fit your unique needs. With 40-plus investors, call Matthew today at 630-376-0484. That's 630-376-0484. Or apply online at mortgagechicagoland.com. Company NMLS 2551, NMLS 198323, Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee, Equal Housing Lender.
If you want to do real estate deals, you need to learn the systems. Visit fliptoriches.com for info on workshops happening the first Tuesday of every month. Meet me, Joshua Ingalls, and other active real estate investors in the Chicagoland area. We give the most value possible with networking and information for new and seasoned investors. We meet the first Tuesday of every month at 3009 North Kedzie in Chicago at 6 p.m. Check out fliptoriches.com. That's fliptoriches.com for all the info now.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. It's all about making money with real estate. Now, back to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about finding contractors to assist you in your real estate investment deals. So in the previous segment, we were focusing on, what you can really do to get a contractor on your side. And just one point I wanted to touch on that before we move on was that we were talking about how you don't want to waste their time. But as a new investor, there may be sort of a chicken or an egg problem there. You want to get a concrete number for what your construction is going to be, but maybe you don't really know how to do that well yet. The real estate construction cost analyzer that we gave out at the last show can help you a lot with that. But you may not know the numbers. You may not know exactly what's there. So you've got to kind of be able to bring the contractor on board with realistic expectations. You might say, hey, I need to look at 5 properties. I need help. I need the quick bid that you can give me, and we'll pin down the hard numbers later. You want to be mindful of their time, but you still want to be able to get the numbers you need to get the deal done.
Yeah, and it's hard when you're starting out, of course, but that rehab estimator, you can dial in 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. We are actually going to allow you to access that resource from last week by contacting us. Also, we're going to be giving away a scope of work on this show. So for the first 50 callers, we will be sharing our scope of work and that repair estimator, which are essential. These are the tools in your tool belt that you need to have with working with contractors and estimating repairs so you can be successful with the construction process in your business.
Great. So let's dive into our next topic, which is once you've got some contractors in front of you, how do you actually make the call? And you need to do some due diligence on these contractors. So, the first and perhaps the most important thing is simply just checking what their experience is. Have they done the construction work on the kind of deals that you're looking to do? If you have a contractor who's done a whole bunch of properties that sell for 150, you're probably not going to want to use him for a property that's going to sell at 1.5 million. You need to find contractors with the experience commensurate to the price point that you're looking to get to in your deal.
You also want to make sure that the contractor is not spread too thin. They're not floating too many jobs that they can't handle. When you look at a contractor, not only are you looking at the work that they've done, but how long did it take them to do that work? So, a policy that I have in my business is I no longer will work with a contractor on 2 jobs until they've successfully proven themselves on 1 job from A to Z with the punch list. Because what happens is sometimes investors get excited and they give them too many jobs, and the contractors are not set up in a way where they can even manage those jobs effectively.
Yeah, we've seen that to be a common problem among contractors in the space. They're businessmen. They want to grow their business. So when new opportunities to expand their business are presented to them, they kind of get a bit ahead of themselves, and they spread themselves a bit too thin to maintain quality and timelines over multiple deals. There's one particular case that comes to mind where this contractor, he had basically 1.5 crews maybe, and he was doing 4 or 5 deals, 6 maybe even at a time, and all of them just kind of crashed and burned. He ended up getting kicked out of a partnership that he was working on. So he was in a deal himself. He ended up getting into litigation with a homeowner, with an investor, and with even a second investor. So it just became a huge mess, and everybody suffered, the contractor and everybody involved. So to the extent that you can help make sure that this sort of situation doesn't arise, you should try and see what sort of volume they've been able to handle in the past, what sort of volume they're looking at going forward, to try and get a feel for the situation.
You also want to make sure that they're fully licensed and that their licenses are up to date. So not only them, but their subcontractors as well. So you should ask for that information. It shouldn't be anything that they should hide. Also, you need to see a copy of their insurance. And typically for what we're doing, we want a minimum limit of $1 million.
Right, and these things are things they're handing out all the time. It should be not even a second thought to them. If you get any kind of, I really can't provide you that, something like that, you should probably just walk away from that contractor.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge red flag. And again, I don't have anything against somebody who's just starting out, but when we're doing these rehabs, I want to make sure that this contractor has a few years of experience. They could have just gone through construction management school, but there's theory and then there's the practical application. So I want to make sure that they have experience, and they have experience managing the type of job that I have for them.
Yeah, I would say let someone experiment, let someone make their freshman mistakes with someone else, not with you.
Yeah, you never want to have somebody learning on your dime, because it can be very expensive. And I've hired contractors where they're literally, we didn't vet them properly in the past. That's why this show is so important when we were starting out. And they were learning on our dime, which cost us twice as much as it should have. And then in some cases, we even had to go back and redo the work.
We've actually seen cases where this has been flagged by things like them buying tools. So, a contractor should come with the right tools for the job. And if you find, there's a plumbing task and they're buying plumbing tools that, a plumber should have, that kind of raises the question. Are they really sort of treading into new lands of their experience here? Or is there some other reason why they're trying to put that on there? That can be a flag for you to know that they don't have the experience and they're trying to learn off of your dime.
You want somebody who has a consistent crew of subcontractors that they're going to bring on the job, somebody that they're actively working with, not subcontractors that they worked with 2 years ago, somebody that can keep those subs busy, because if they can keep their subs busy, that means that their pricing is going to be better in line. And
a good thing to do is actually go meet kind of the lead people they're working with. They might have a sort of site manager that they work with. Try and go see them at the site, and you can really kind of get a feel. You'll see not only that they're working on a project, but you also get a good feel for, how they do things.
Having a list of references from the contractor is extremely important. And more importantly than that is actively visiting their job site. I like to see one when it's just starting out. I like to see one halfway through. I like to see a finished one or very close to being finished. And how is that job site? Is it proper? Is it clean, or is it a mess and it's just a disaster, like a war zone. We want to make sure that they're organized and their job sites are organized. And then even more importantly, they can take me to a past client that they did work for. Now, you may think, well, that contractor is not going to want to do that. If they are very excited about the work that they've done, they will be more than happy to bring you into a past client that they've done work for because that client is going to speak very highly of them. If they've done shoddy work, that's their worst nightmare, is for you to meet one of their past clients.
Another way to kind of get references from them is to actually dive a bit into public records. You can see, obviously they're going to provide you good references. So they're going to say, hey, here are 3 guys that I worked with. They love my work. They'll speak highly of me, no problem. But you can actually dig into public records and see where they pulled permits. And you can find other owners that they worked for maybe didn't provide as a reference. And you can try and reach out to them to actually do an additional level of due diligence, because it's always an interesting question as to why they weren't able to provide you with a reference like that.
You also want a contractor that's able to float some costs, because the way we set up our payment schedules is we use a theory called, or it's not a theory, it's what we use in our business. It's called stay ahead on work, behind on payments. So what that means is we do not pay until a milestone is achieved, which that really, really helps for us as the investor, because the contractor, if they get a bunch of money up front, as soon as they start working on your home, they're starting to lose money. So that's why we want to see the work done first, then we make that payment and we pay them very quickly.
And that's exactly the same thing we do as a lender. So we don't fund a dime for work until that work is completed. A lot of our borrowers will actually say, hey, when my lender pays me, you get paid. So that ties the work getting done to the money getting paid.
You also want to make sure that they're a contractor that not only can pull permits, but pulls permits on the jobs where they need to pull permits. It's extremely important. If you're going to be in this business for the long haul, you need to do it right. And I think the most important thing of all is understanding timelines. Timelines are this will make or break your investment. If you're paying hard money, even if you're not paying hard money, if a project takes you 12 months instead of 6 months, this could be a profit difference of over $50,000 depending on the sales price. Could be less depending on the property, but it makes a huge difference. So sometimes paying a little bit more for a contractor who can do the job quickly is important. So I like to ask my contractors, how long will this job take you? They may say 3 months. Okay, I'm going to give you 3.5 months. Every day after that, I'm going to impose a $100 penalty. If the contractor says, I can't do that, well, then you know that this isn't a contractor you want to hire. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. Contact us for that scope of work.
You're an investor, a lender in commercial real estate, or you're an attorney, and you use a title company. National Title Solutions wants a chance to be your title company. Give them a shot at your business, and you'll find out why they're the best choice. Most title companies keep banking hours and have no flexibility. National Title Solutions will do whatever it takes on your timetable. You'll save money, too. Give them an opportunity and see the difference. Convenient offices all over. National Title Solutions. Call 800-NTS-2700. 800-NTS-2700. Mortgage rates are still near historic lows. If you're looking to buy your first home, upgrade, downsize, invest, or refinance, contact Matthew Ewald from Draper & Kramer Mortgage Corp. Matthew has been a trusted mortgage consultant for over 13 years and has options to fit your unique needs. With 40-plus investors, call Matthew today at 630-376-0484. That's 630-376-0484. Or apply online at mortgagechicagoland.com. Company NMLS 2551, NMLS 198323, Illinois Residential Mortgage Licensee, Equal Housing Lender.
The Chicagoland Real Estate Investment Group invites you to build your network in real estate investing and learn from the region's experts. There's no charge to attend, and there won't be any hard sell for expensive courses. Join us on the fourth Monday each month in the North Shore. For more information, visit us at meetup.com/ChicagolandREI. Again, that's meetup.com/ChicagolandREI. Meetup.com/ChicagolandREI.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. Now, back to the show that gives you the insider info. Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about working with contractors. These are the lifeblood of your business, so you need to make sure you're doing this right. And one of the ways that you're going to do this in your business is having a detailed scope of work. We talked about it in the last two segments, but this scope of work is going to outline the tiles, the paint colors, everything that you need on the job in order to be successful, where contractors will want to bid on your jobs because you're organized and you have everything in one place. So this scope of work is extremely, extremely important in your business if you want to fix and flip real estate. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of one of the scope of works that we've used on one of our past projects.
So we want to cover a couple more points on doing due diligence on contractors before moving on. So we mentioned briefly in the previous segment that you want to check public records for certain ways. The ways you can do this is you can look up permits. That confirms, first of all, that they're getting the permits. You should see permits on basically every project you can tie them to or they've told you about, unless, of course, it's a very small amount of work. And then the second thing that permits can do is they can allow you to find people that they didn't provide as references and talk to them and say, hey, did they do a good job for you? If you can get all those people to sign on and say, yes, they did a great job, then you know that you've got a good contractor on your hands. Another point to do is to actually visit the work sites. We touched on that again in the last segment as well, but you want to see that they have their work sites clean and maintained. You want to see work sites in various stages of progress. You know, is the demolition done in a reasonable, clean manner, as clean as demolition can get anyway? Is the work site midway through and framing and rough plumbing is exposed? Is all that looking good too? Are they keeping it clean? And then as you get to the finishing stages, are the finished seams of paint and tile, are they clean and sharp? You know, are they appropriate for the price point you're looking at? You don't need quite the clean edge at a 150 house that you do at a 1.5 million house. Are they doing what you need to get done at those edges? You know, of course, that gets us back to checking your comps and see where those stand. You know, at the end of the day, we're pitching to them that we work on volume, and all of this due diligence will kind of allow us to get comfortable with them, while at the same time they're getting comfortable that we're going to provide that level of work. So let's jump into the next topic here. What documents do you actually need to kind of get the contractor signed up with you in a legal manner? So, you know, the first thing, of course, is just the agreement with them, the independent contractor agreement. That sets the terms of your overall relationship with them and kind of sets the groundwork for how you'll relate to each other throughout the course of your dealings.
Some important things that you're going to want to have in the independent contractor agreement. Number one, they're not an employee of yours. There is no employee. You want to avoid that type of relationship. Also, you want to outline a per diem. Again, I said, hey, if it's going to take you 3 months, I'm going to give you 3.5 months to do this job just to be generous. But after that, there's a $100 penalty every single day that this goes over what's determined with this independent contractor agreement. So you want to have that outlined, and then you know, you can even outline if you visit the job site on a day and we're not waiting for a permit. We even have on some of our independent contractor agreements where we will charge them a penalty because people should be working there. If it's a sunny day and there's no holdup to the weather, they should be there working at the house if it's Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, and they didn't let us know. You know, again, if we're waiting for inspection or something like that, that's a different story. But you can outline that in this agreement.
The next item, of course, is the scope of work that we've been discussing, and we're providing that today as a giveaway to the first 50 callers at 855-5-AIRWAVES, or the first 50 people who reach us on our website, realestateairwaves.com. having a very detailed scope of work, as we've discussed, preparing that last episode through the estimator, will allow you to keep it very concrete, very straightforward for both you and the contractor. So that's a very important piece of the documentation puzzle.
You also want to have what's called a payment schedule. So this is when are they getting paid, which milestones do they have to achieve, and how much are they getting paid when they achieve those milestones. So this is extremely important. We present them a payment schedule up front, and then the contractor may say, well, I want to be paid at this time. If a contractor comes to us and says, hey, I want to get paid, then I go back to the payment schedule and I say, hey, I'd love to pay you, but the payment schedule, which you wrote, said you had to have this done. So according to this document, now the blame is off of me, and now their roofers are there on a Sunday evening to get that roof up because they need to get paid.
And the payment schedule, of course, will tie back into the scope of work. That's how you define your milestones from the scope of work you provided. Your documentation package should also include an indemnification, hold harmless, and insurance agreement. So the indemnification, the hold harmless, could also be in the contractor agreement. It's just how you structure it. But this is another agreement that protects you, make sure their insurance is properly maintained, and that makes sure that you're not going to pay for mistakes that they make. Another piece of the puzzle is a partial and final lien waiver. Now, this at the beginning of the project, this is just the form. So they'll fill that out as they go through. It'll match up with the milestones and the payments, and has each of them come through, they give you this lien waiver, which means that they can't put a lien on the house that could prevent you from selling it or otherwise refinancing it.
The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a scope of work that we use in our business, that we use with our contractors, which is so important. We'll see you soon.
Real estate agents are cheap. Many agents will only market your home on the MLS and put a sign up. Demand more. Joshua Ingalls invests in aggressive marketing, including high-def video, 3D virtual tours, professional photography, a custom website, and mailers, so you can get the most amount of money for your home in the shortest amount of time. Call Joshua Ingalls, broker with United Real Estate Chicago, at 630-544-1504 for a free home valuation, or visit hometeamil.com to learn more.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. Now, back to the show with real estate info you won't find anywhere else. Real Estate Airwaves is on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about working with contractors and why they are the lifeblood of your business if you're fixing and flipping real estate. Again, those first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the scope of work, which is so crucial that you need in your business if you're going to flip a property, because you need to outline all those items. So when you get your bids, you get apples to apples. And that way you can get accurate bids and contractors will want to work with you. The number to get that information is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. Another document that you need to use when working with contractors is getting just a W-9 from them. You know, if they're a contractor that wants to be paid cash and no record of that, well, guess what? Now you can't write that cash payment that you made to that contractor. Yes, you might be able to get things done a little bit cheaper, but what good does that do you if now you can no longer write that expense off?
And Josh, what is a W-9?
So a W-9 is simply, if they're a sole proprietor, they're going to enter their name and their social security number, or if they're a business, which we prefer to work with, they're going to enter their business name and then their EIN number. But this allows us to issue them a 1099 at the end of the year, so we don't take on that tax liability.
So these are all IRS documents. You can actually find them all on the IRS's website, and then you simply fill them out.
One thing you want to really be careful when working with contractors is watch out for bids that are too good to be true. If you've got 5 bids, 3 of them are for $200,000, and then you've got one for $120,000, and you've got one for $300,000, we'll throw out the $300 and throw out the $120. A bid that is too good to be true is too good to be true. Be very, very careful. What they'll do is try to get their foot in the door, and then it may even cost you more than those other bids that you received, because they're constantly going to be giving you change orders. Oh, I didn't know you wanted drywall on your walls. I mean, they will try to change order you for everything. And that's why be very, very cautious of that.
So that actually gets us to the very last point we want to cover here, which is make sure in your documents it says change orders have to be in writing for them to get paid, and then be strict about it. You can put it in your legal docs and say, if you got to change something, we need to have some sort of written material to show that change has been effected and that we both agreed to it.
But all change orders must be agreed upon in writing before it's done. They just can't do the work and then give us a bill.
Absolutely. So the last big question we want to cover here is where to actually find these contractors. There's a variety of ways to do it, and we're just going to kind of go through them and give you a broad outline of places to do it. So one sort of obvious place is job sites. In earlier episodes, we've talked about driving for dollars. You're driving around looking for the properties that look like there's some reason they'd be able to sell. Well, the exact same thing applies to contractors. You drive around, you see construction sites. Well, you hop out of your car and you talk and you try and find the contractor there in charge, and that can be a great way to find people who can help you in your business.
If you're working in a certain city, sometimes talking to the building department, they're going to refer you the contractors that they recommend to people. Why that's good is because they have already a good relationship, obviously, if the building department is recommending them.
Yeah, it's especially useful when you're kind of venturing out into sort of smaller suburban places where, the localities might have their particularities about what they focus on. That contractor will know, and he not only will know, but he's being recommended by the people who will ultimately check on him.
Yeah, that's why it's so important. I mean, we've been in certain cities where they've come in and we've done multiple jobs and they said, oh, it's you guys. They don't even look around the house and they sign off. If you can build a good reputation with your contractor and your business, it's so important. Of course, supply houses. So if you want to get a plumber, go into a plumbing supply house or an electrical supply house. Ask them for recommendations. They're not going to recommend you the guy that comes in and does bad work. They want to keep a good reputation as well. The same is true with the Pro Desk at Home Depot. Something that I really like is investor referrals. Again, this is how we can pitch this volume to actual contractors. Even if we don't have jobs, we have people that we can refer them to.
Another one is actually contractor referrals. So if you get a contractor who says, I'd love to do your work, I just don't have the capacity to do it. First of all, that's a good contractor. Second of all, if they can recommend somebody to you, you probably know that that's also a good contractor you're being referred to.
And if you're working with a hard money lender, the great thing about Barnett is if you want to work with them and they're actually going to help you vet your contractor for you and maybe even give you recommendations if you're here in the Chicagoland area, which is extremely, extremely important. If a hard money lender is referring me a contractor, it's because the hard money lender wants to get paid back. So that's a great thing that Barnett, that you guys do.
Absolutely. And we can actually do it in other markets too. I mean, we don't have the depth that we do here locally, but we know contractors that have worked with our borrowers in multiple markets. And if a borrower comes to us and say, hey, do you know anybody in this area? We'll certainly look and see what we can do to help.
Another great source is just simply going online. Angie's List, Home Advisor. One that I've really started using is called Thumbtack. You can put up a job very quickly on Thumbtack. You can, even if you want your house cleaned, people will come and bid it. Sometimes for certain jobs, if you give them enough information, like deciding I need this many squares, sometimes you can get bids without them even seeing the job if you have prints and that sort of thing. Thumbtack is a great website to check out. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you could visit realestateairwaves.com. The first 50 people to contact us will be getting a copy of the scope of work that we use in our business, which is so important because this allows us to get accurate bids and then compare apples to apples with contractors and then make that construction process seamless so everything is chosen on the front end. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon.
You're an investor, a lender in commercial real estate, or you're an attorney, and you use a title company. National Title Solutions wants a chance to be your title company. Give them a shot at your business, and you'll find out why they're the best choice. Most title companies keep banking hours and have no flexibility. National Title Solutions will do whatever it takes on your timetable. You'll save money, too. Give them an opportunity and see the difference. Convenient offices all over. National Title Solutions. Call 800-NTS-2700. 800-NTS-2700.
Need capital for your real estate investment? Let Barnett Real Estate Investment Finance be your partner for fast, flexible, and certain capital. Since 2008, they've funded millions of home flippers, landlords, auction buyers, wholesalers, and more. And they'd like their next deal to be with you. Submit your preliminary application now at barnettcapital.com/prelim or call them at 224-205-7266. Again, that's 224-205-7266.
AM 560, The Answer. It's all about making money with real estate. Now, back to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer.
Today we've been discussing getting contractors. We started talking about, how you can really get a contractor on your side. The things you can do. You can make sure you're paying them exactly and as quickly as possible when their pay is earned, when they've hit that milestone. Giving them a steady stream of work, helping them develop their business, both through your work and additional work, and also their systems, helping them find ways to make them more efficient, making their life easier, doing whatever you can to just make it simple for them to go execute on their work, get their work done, and get it paid. Joint venturing them when the opportunity arises. Joint venturing with them when the opportunity arises. That could be they bring a deal, you give them a wholesaler fee or a cut of the deal, or even you bring them in and they take down their management fee to nothing in order to get that piece on the back end. And also being positive, don't go around bad-mouthing other contractors. This whole picture, that's what will help you keep that contractor on your side. Then we talked about actually vetting these contractors. What sort of things are you looking for in them? Experience is the big one. You want to make sure they've done what you're looking to do. And if you can confirm that, that's how you truly get comfortable with them. And then there's a long list of other things that you want to make sure are being checked off before you engage a contractor. So you don't want them to be spread too thin. You want to get an idea for what their capacity has been in the past, what it is now, and what they expect it to be. And you want to make sure their crews and the number of people they're working with kind of add up, that the math works out on what they're telling you there. You want to make sure they have all the paperwork that they need. So that's going to be licenses. That's going to be insurance. You're going to want to make sure that they've been in business for several years. You probably don't want to be the first person a contractor works with out the door. They're going to make rookie mistakes, and you want them to make that with somebody else. You want to see that they have a consistent crew. You want to see that they can get references to you of previous happy clients. You want to see that they're structured as a corporation or an LLC. You probably don't want to, hire the guy who's just say, hey, I'm Joe Smith and I'm the contractor, where there's no entity in put together there. You want to make sure that entity has no history of lawsuits, that there's nothing bad in their background, and that they have financial resources to float. You want to make sure that they're not going to require money up front, that they can, get a bit done without, being financially stretched. And most importantly, that they understand timelines, that they're not going to get way behind on your schedule, because that's so crucial to maintaining the return on your deal and then moving on to the next deal. We then talked about the actual documentation you pulled together with them, the contract agreement, the scope of work, which is today's giveaway, the payment schedule, the insurance agreement, lien waiver forms, and the W-9 that you can get from the IRS's website. Lastly, we spoke about where to actually find them. Go to job sites. Go to building departments in your local jurisdictions. Go to places where you're buying materials, supply houses, Home Depot, getting referrals from a variety of sources, from investors, from other contractors, from lenders like us. And lastly, there's places you can find them online, a variety of websites.
Yeah, the great thing about contractors is getting referrals. That's one of the best sources that I've gotten some of our contractors from, is either contractors I've worked with that are great or investors. And a great place to get those referrals is by coming to our meeting at 3009 North Kedzie in Chicago. We meet on the first Tuesday of every month. Our next meeting is on February 7th at 6 p.m. You can visit fliptoriches.com to learn more about that meeting, or you can attend. Also, Barnett has a meeting. Go to realestateairwaves.com, click through the links. You'll learn more about that. And remember, we are giving away a scope of work today, which is crucial to you and your business if you're going to be working with contractors. The number here is 855-5-AIRWAVES, or you can visit realestateairwaves.com. We hope to see you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in.
You've been listening to Real Estate Airwaves on AM 560, The Answer. Come back next Sunday at noon for more insider real estate information from Joshua and Vincent. You can listen to past shows, contact them, and get free exclusive content at realestateairwaves.com. That's realestateairwaves.com.